Yeah, hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the NT lecture 0, and I'm Sabir Sachi. So I'm just beginning the class now. So this is the overview of what we will cover today. First is some basic number properties. Then we'll just cover the application. Then rational, irrational numbers, some proof, some irrational complex numbers, Euclid's division lemma, some divisibility properties, and some other problems. Next slide. Okay, so we are going to first start with natural numbers. Natural numbers are generally the numbers from 1 to infinity. And this is also the tool which allowed us to count. Just check out this quote here. Okay, so after natural numbers comes the whole numbers. The whole numbers is from 0 to infinity. So natural numbers is a subset of whole numbers, which we can see first. It includes a 0, and we're going to cover the properties of 0 later. Next slide. Now this is the integers. Integers is say minus infinity to infinity. This is the from minus infinities, then -3, -2, that way. Now we can see this that both the natural numbers and whole numbers are a subset of z. And z is also taken as a entire set sometimes in set theory. Okay, so next. So we're starting with a quote by Carl Gauss. He was known as the queen of mathematics, I think, whatever. He said this that this is number theory. Number theory is the queen of mathematics, and mathematics is the queen of sciences. Actually, number theory is the branch of pure maths which is devoted to the study of integers mainly. But this doesn't mean that it is simple. It attracts some of the world's best minds, like some people like Gauss, Euler, Fermat, and a lot more mathematicians contributed to this. And this is some of the main topics in maths to cover and master. One of the biggest mysteries here is regarding the prime numbers. And here the prime factorization plays a huge role. Next slide.
Can anyone guess how? Anyone?
Passwords. Is it using password?
You're not audible exactly. Could you speak a bit louder? Sabyasachi, you may continue.
In number theory, we have basically find relations between sets of numbers or sorts of numbers, and we have to prove that this is true. Number theory can be divided into two parts mainly. First is experimental, and the other part is theoretical. In experimental part, you have to just list the questions and suggest ways to answer them. And theoretical part, you have to devise an argument and prove it, and which this gives a conclusive answer to the questions. Now, just to mention the prime factorization using cryptography, which was the question of the last slide, which is guess how part. Next slide. Now we are moving on to some application of number theory, which is cryptography, which we're dealing a part of it here. Okay, this is basically an encryption system where the sender and the receiver has to use a single key to just encrypt and decrypt messages. Okay. So prime factorization is often used to secure this public key encryption system. Like here, semi-primes are mostly used. Semi-primes means a prime which is a multiplication of two large prime numbers, which aren't easy to guess manually. It is just the number securing the encryption. It is if you have one of the primes, if you're the sender with one of the primes, then the receiver has to have other prime to just decrypt that. Otherwise, you can decrypt. Next slide. So this is mainly what happens in websites like Amazon or any other shopping website. All the credit card and other details you enter, which are just first encrypted using this cryptography technology, and this is sent to the Amazon server. Now, after you log in, you have another your key on your side, which again decrypts it. Like here, when you enter your private data and press send, then the internet browser first encodes your data and send it to Amazon. Now, to ensure that the Amazon, without anyone else than Amazon can view it, then the code has a semi-prime or lock, which can be opened only with the correct key, which has the Amazon has only. For such large numbers, the prime factorization, even using supercomputers, it will take long time to just crack it. Therefore, it's practically impossible to crack these super primes and just decrypt and seal the data. So, like, it's close to impossible, but it can happen. Okay, next. So the next topic we're covering here, infinite primes. First one point is that primes are infinite. And here, this method, I'm just showing this by, okay, I'm just first proving this that their primes are infinite. So let us start by assuming a contradiction that there's a finite number of prime numbers. Like, see, these primes are like P1, Pn, P2, and Pn. Like, say, P1 is 2, P2 is 3, P3 is 5, and like this to a certain prime Pn. And we are also assuming that there are no other prime numbers. Now consider this number, the product of the prime numbers P1 to Pn plus 1. This number isn't divisible by any of the prime. As always, remember this mod congruent to 1 mod this, the number we're dividing with. So you can see this that this is relatively prime to all these numbers. And considering that the previous numbers are all the entire number of prime, we can see that this is also a prime. So this adds to a list of prime numbers. We first assume that they are just Pn prime numbers. Now we got Pn plus 1 prime number. So this means a contradiction, and here like this will go on. So there are infinitely many prime numbers we can show like this. Next slide. And next slide. So we are moving to the Russian numbers. Russian numbers can be expressed as a fraction of p by q, where p, q belong to z and q not equal to 0. When the GCD of p and q is 1, then it's in the lowest term. And this is the tool which allows us to show and compare. Next slide. Okay, so Russian numbers are defined to be those numbers which can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q cannot be equal to 0. So there's a difference between can and are. Like here, 2 is a Russian number because it can be expressed as 2 by 1, but in its integral form, not in its p by q form. Similarly, a rational number can be expressed 13 by 10, but in its decimal form, not in p by q form. Well, if we interchange the words are and can, these numbers will be removed from the set of Russian numbers. And this Russian number is represented by the letter Q. Next slide. Now the irrational number. Irrational number is the set of real numbers minus the set of rational number. And the next slide. Now we are going to explain what the word irrational means. Like suppose this is basically a number which cannot be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q not equal to 0. Like previously, the base 10 system wasn't that prevalent, so there was no way to represent the irrational number, except that Anderson invented a new symbol. And the set of real numbers, as I said, is r minus q complement and q dash complement included. However, suppose a rational number root 2. Okay, this root 2 cannot be expressed in the form of p by q. So suppose unless you have the base 10 system, you cannot represent root 2 unless you do it geometrically. And we are going to prove that this lets root 2 exist by a geometrical method for a certain unit square. Next slide. we are emphasizing here first on why are irrational numbers needed. Pythagoras mainly didn't support irrational numbers. He thought everything was rational. I'm like, this was his ideology mainly, I think. Irrational numbers, however, still exist, and there are lots of ways you can find it. Like, just say any unit square or any triangle having the sides 1 and 2, a right angle triangle. Then the hypotenuse becomes root 5, which is irrational, and you can measure by just drawing the triangle. So you can represent them, but geometrically only, unless there was a new system to represent them, which Pythagoras didn't or didn't exist in. For now, we are moving to the area of the circle, where we can encounter irrational numbers. From mathematical perspective, this is the previous slide one. I think irrational numbers to the set of rational numbers comes into the real number set. And the number line is a continuous series of numbers rather than discontinuous one. Next slide.
Before that, does anyone know how to represent root 2 or root 3?
Yeah, in the number line, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
I know.
Yeah. I do.
Okay. Could you explain your process?
Yeah, using the Pythagoras theorem.
We can use it using the Pythagoras theorem. Like root 2 is
using a
root of
right
1
triangle.
square plus 1 square.
Okay, great.
Okay, so next slide.
Sabyasachi, show them still the proof how to represent root 2 and root 3. Show them still.
Okay, suppose you construct a unit triangle. Construct a unit. Where did the annotation go?
Yes, just a second, enabling annotation.
Suppose this is a unit right angle triangle. Both the sides AB and BC have 1 unit respectively. Now, by using the theorem which ironically Pythagoras shown, we can write this that this side is root over 1 square plus 1 square, which is root 2. So we can represent this root 2 and this is the division of root 2. Now, for example, the root 3. Just change one of the side lengths. Suppose this is 2 units now. Just a second. For root 3, I can just prove it by contradiction that it exists. Like suppose, okay, so that method we can show it and we can just move on the spiral. Like using the right angle spiral, we first prove that this is root 2 and just take another side 1 and again draw a right angle triangle. So this line becomes root 3. And then again, if you do it, then it becomes 2 and then root 5. So we got this.
Yes, that is the square root spiral.
Yes, the square root spiral.
Yeah. That's what we are going to show next. So after root 2 comes root 3. Then after root 3 comes 2. That's root 4. Then comes root 5. Then comes root 6, root 7, and so on. And again, at some point, we consider a normal number. Like 2 we got here. So that's basically the square root spiral.
Sir,
Any doubts? And just repeat once.
sir, can I ask a question?
Yeah, ask.
Sir, did we have to represent root 2 on the number line in that question?
Yes, a number line.
So, sir, can we do it like with the AMGM inequality?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Now we are back again to the sets.
But the
You
thing
can show this that if the
in the AMGM inequality, you will be able to show only a few irrational numbers. But here we are almost showing all root 2, root 3, then root 5, root 6, root 7, and all.
Sir, it would be somewhere means if we in case of root 2, then it will be between 1 and 1.5. So, sir, in that way also we can represent. Then root 3 will be somewhere between 1 and 2.
But that's just somewhere. We are here. We are demarcating the exact length of root 2.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. I understood.
Sabyasachi, continue.
Yeah, so this is the set of irrational number. Then this is Li. This is irrational. This is the integers, whole numbers, and natural number. Natural number are the subset of whole numbers. Whole numbers is the subset of integers, and so on. And this entire region lies on the real numbers. Next slide.
Do anyone of you know how to prove root 2 is irrational?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I do.
We first assume that it is a rational, and then by using contradiction, we can prove
by
its
Yes,
irrationality.
yes, yes. Then we find that it is not.
Yes, exact. Sabyasachi, continue.
Okay, so this is basically the proof that root 2 is irrational. We have to show it here. So on a contradictory, assume that root 2 is rational. So root 2 can be written as p by q, where p and q integers, q not equal to 0, and AC of p comma q is 1. That's a fraction that reduces the lowest term. Now squaring this 2 equal to p square by q square. So 2q square equal to p square. Since p and q do not share any common factor, then p has to be even. So now if p is 2m, suppose where m is an integer, then taking this we get 2q square equal to 4m square. Q square equal to 2m square. So q is even. So therefore, as both p and q even, so the ACF can be 1. This is a contradiction, and the assumption is false. Hence, we can show this that root 2 is irrational. Next slide.
Just a second. In case you don't know, just give it a word. So you can see it leads towards a square root spiral.
Sir, could you please show the proof that root 2 is irrational?
Okay, just here you go.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir, I understood.
So these are left for you as a homework. We'll be sharing this file later at the night. Sabyasachi, continue.
So here we will mention some notable irrational numbers like pi, e, sigma, that's golden ratio, etc. Just start. So the first irrational we are covering here is pi. And this pi is an irrational number, as it suggests, and its origins are far beyond the definition of irrational numbers. It's defined as the ratio to the circle's circumference to its diameter. Like suppose a circle has a diameter of, suppose radius is r, then diameter is d, circumference is 2 pi r, which is pi d. So generally the circumference by the diameter is pi d by pi, which is pi. This is d. So here this way we can get a ratio of pi. Like for any circle, we can get this. And this value of pi was found a lot before the other numbers. Because of the simplicity the way it's derived maybe. So in many civilizations, they calculate the value of pi to use in real world calculation. The closest approximation is 22 by 7, which isn't exactly pi, but it works mostly. So that's why 22 by 7 is used. But 22 by 7 isn't pi. 22 by 7 is another irrational number. It's a rational number which converges to pi. And decimal here, this is also intermediate. But this isn't pi. And the exact value of pi hasn't never been calculated. Like even after calculating for a billion digits, it doesn't terminate. It was only after the invention of calculus that we could calculate hundreds of digits of pi. And now we have calculated to billions of decimal places, but still we haven't reached the end. Now this number has an application in almost all branches of studies, in the mathematics, to physics, to finance, and everything. Next slide. So now we are moving on to E. The first basic example of where E is used, like the compound interest formula in school. That is here where interest is calculated for every year and added. The formula can be written as here. This A equal to P 1 plus R by 100 to the power t, where A is the amount, P is the principal, and A minus P is the interest, which can be written as 1 plus R by 100 to the power n, or T, where this is the rate of interest per term, and T is the number of terms. Now, suppose we left this exercise, like how do we prove this or derive this? Anyone has any ideas? How will you derive this formula?
We'll take the simple interest formula and then write it for n number of times, and then we can just take common. You will get the equation.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate more? You can annotate.
I won't be able to annotate. I'm doing on a laptop.
Okay, anyway, leave. Let's move on. Next slide. Suppose we are drill for half yearly and quarter yearly. Now suppose you want to compound it for n times a year. N can have any number of time. So suppose then the rate of interest in each of the periods becomes R by n. So how does the formula change? The number of terms become nt when you double it for n times a year. This formula becomes 1 plus R by 100 n to the power nt. Now suppose n is 2. So this becomes 1 plus R by 200 to the power 2t. And for quarterly 40 and so on. Now here we are going to consider what will happen for larger values of n. Like suppose n is less than 10. So it becomes p 1 plus R by 1000 to the power 1000t. Now first of all, this value of R by 1000 becomes quite less. And this is power to the 1000 power and into t. So this way, this value will just change a lot. Now what will happen when n becomes infinity? Now it just becomes that amount is p e to the power rt by 100. This amount. P is the principal. Now e is the irrational number we are speaking here to the power rt by 100 when n is infinite. So in fact, the limit of n tends to infinity. 1 plus 1 by n to the power n. This is equal to e. Yeah, tell what you're speaking of.
Sir, do we have to prove the formula of the compound interest, right?
Yes.
So, sir, like if we first consider the principal amount of the first year to be P, so sir, the amount for the first year, like the interest, simple interest will become I is equal to PRT by 100. So, sir, now if we take amount, then sir, it will become P plus P into R T by 100. Now, sir, here T is only 1. So, sir, we can just remove T and write 1. So sir, A will become P into 1 plus R by 100. Now sir, if we consider it as the principal of the second year, then sir, we will get the amount of the second year as P into 1 plus R by 100 plus P into 1 plus R by 100 into R divided by 100. So sir, we can take common and write P into 1 plus R by 100 into 1 plus R by 100. So sir, it will become P into 1 plus R by 100 whole square. Now sir, similarly, it will also take place for the third amount also. So sir, if we continue it for the n number of years, then sir, it will become P into 1 plus R by 100 whole to the power n.
Yes, you are
Sir,
right.
like
But see, if you want to make your proof a bit stronger and more logical, you can take the cases 1 and 2 and you can use induction. You take it true for n and then prove it for n plus 1. Then your proof will be better.
okay, sir.
Sabyasachi continue.
Yeah, so the value of E is approximately 2.7182818 and this go on. I wish the meeting is ending in 2 minutes.
Yes, please rejoin if the meeting ends.
Okay, next slide. Now this number E is not only used in common interest, but it is also used in many other calculations. Like it has various application calculus and also even describing things like radioactive decay. Also it's useful in study of the field of complex numbers and even the field of trigonometry and hyperbolic geometry. Yeah, E is the Euler's constant. And there are also other ways to represent the value of E. Like suppose you can write it in this formula. Like where n tends to infinity we showed. Infinity 1 by n factor. Just one second. Now this is the expression you will see in many ways. And even calculus you will reach this.
Yeah, there are lots of representation of it.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm ending the meeting. Barely 1 minute left. Rejoin, please. Sabyasachi start.
Yeah, so after E, we are moving to the next constant, which is phi. This is also known as the golden ratio. However, it has some special properties, and it has a lot of occurrence in nature, and quite some ways which isn't expected. Like say, this golden ratio has a value of 1.618. That is 1 plus root 5 by 2. This enters under divided by 2. Like suppose for any quadratic equation, x square equal to x plus 1. One of the roots is golden ratio. Like I'm just showing this. I'm audible now.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, I'm audible now. Okay, so the as was showing 1 minus 4 and 1, so this becomes root 5. So the roots of this equation becomes 1 plus 1 is root 5 by 2. Now the other negative root is discovered then. The root of 1 plus root 5 by 2. This is the golden ratio. Now here this it has applications even in nature. Like for example, a sunflower petal. Here there you can find that the number of subpetals arranged are in terms of the golden ratio. And it has some other applications as well. Now I'm just showing some other derivations of this value. Like here, a golden ratio can be defined as a ratio between A and B, given that A by B is E plus B by A. This is the main criteria for golden ratio. And this golden ratio is even using painting. Like for example, this is equal to some constant, say 5. Now this value A plus B is 5. So this can be written as 1 plus B by A. So 5 is 1 plus 1 by 5. Or basically we have to prove this, that 5 minus 1 by 5 equal to 1. From here we are getting the value of 5. And it just transfers the back quadratic equation. X square minus equal to x plus 1. Thus 5 square equal to 5 plus 1. Now solving as I shown, we get the value of 1 plus root 5 by 2. And this value is approximately 1.618. And the golden ratio isn't the transcendental number. It's just a solution for the quadratic equation. This pi and e are transcendental numbers. Now did I cover the transcendental numbers topic? Okay, next slide. Okay, so the golden ratio can be related to the Fibonacci numbers. And here together we can see the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence occurring in nature, like the spacing of leaves in a plant to even the ratio of legs in our own body. Now, for example, just calculate the ratio between the side and diagonal of a regular pentagon. Does anyone have any idea how will you do it? Yeah, for the other equation, the value becomes negative. Now we have length can be negative. So the other value is discarded. Like even in suppose spacing of leaves in a plant, the length cannot be negative. That's why other number doesn't follow the golden ratio.
Okay, sir.
Okay, next slide.
Sir, there we
Now we
have to
move-
find the ratio between the diagonal and side.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so
will come as a golden ratio.
that is a homework. You can try it out. If you're not able, you please ping us in doubts channel. That's how.
Okay, sir.
Continue, sir. Besides.
So complex number is basically of the form like a plus ib, where a is real and b is the coefficient of the irrational number. And here I is root over minus 1. And both a and b belong to r square. This is what we have basically complex numbers. Next slide.
Does anyone have any doubts regarding this complex number or the iota? I. So
Sir,
besides,
they lie at an angle to the.
I have explained complex
numbers.
numbers in the next slide. You can go on.
okay.
Sabyasachi, continue.
Now the point is that the irrational numbers can be represented by the value. or geometrically, but complex numbers are more abstract. It can be represented using a value. But these numbers can be approximated and they can be represented in number line and they exist on the real number line. Now here, suppose this equation x squared plus 1 equals 0. What are the roots? You can just say.
Sir, both will be complex roots, plus minus root under -1.
Yeah. So you can represent these roots. That's why you have to find a new way to represent them. And this is the Argand thing, you can just say. This is the real axis and this is the complex axis. So this way a number can represent. Suppose this is A and this is the B. Both A and B are irrational. Then Z can represent as A plus IB. This is the Argand thing basically. This is the complex axis and this is the real axis. Next slide.
Sabyasachi,
Now
continue.
here, root over -1 can be just used to represent the value. So this new symbol was introduced. Like we can write this that root 2 was approximately 1.4, like 1.414 some value. But here for the length of the diagonal, so this value has to exist. But there's no such logic for I. Like you can just show the value of I geometrically. So you can use the value of the irrational this numbers in the real world. But it is used to define some new things to simplify and model real numbers using equations. The complex numbers are one of such examples. Next slide. Just as I see, the complex numbers can be written as A plus IB is the form, where A is the real part and IB is the imaginary part. All the numbers we talked before are all complex numbers, but B is 0. If B is 0, then this just becomes A. It can be just any normal rational number, any integer or any value. Because A is the real part and A can have any of the values. So all the numbers we talked before complex numbers, they have a value of B equal to 0 and just they lie on entirely the real plane. As I said, this was the Argand plane, this is the real and this is the complex. Now here it doesn't go, it just lies on the real axis. So basically you can say this that the real numbers are a subset of complex numbers according to this plane. Does everyone understand what I meant?
Sir, then if A plus iota B, then sir, if A is equal to 0, then it will be towards 90 degree to the real axis, right?
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
B equal to 0.
Yes,
A
sir.
is the real part.
Yes, sir. And B is the
Yeah.
imaginary part, iota B.
Yeah. Like suppose I'm giving this complex number 4 plus 2i. So which is the value of A and which is B?
Sir, A will be 4 and B will be 2.
Yeah. So I'm moving on now. Next slide. So now try to imagine the world as a complex place. Natural numbers are used to count. Negative numbers signify debit and fractions are parts of the whole. But there's no such real number analogical terms for complex numbers. But using them, we can just describe the real number in real world in more detail than what we can do by using only real numbers. Like complex numbers are used in wave mechanics. So all the subjects we can study waves can be modeled using complex numbers. This is the AC circuit or a wave function of an electron and quantum mechanics. Sometimes it's better to just keep an open mind and use the tools invented by the mathematical giants in the previous centuries instead of discarding them because they are not real. Because the real world is also very complex. Next slide. Does anyone have any doubts?
Anyone has any doubts till this part?
So I'm moving forward.
Sir, in that where we have to find the ratio between the diagonals and the side, there, sir, we have to find the value of cos 36, right? Sir, actually, I have I'm getting like that.
Send that in Dow's channel. I will have to check actually.
Okay, sir,
It will not be
actually,
yes,
yes, sir.
tell.
Sir, actually, I got the diagonal as 2x cos 36 degree and the side as x. So if I take the ratio, then it will be 2 cos 36 degrees. So, sir, I have to find the value of 30 cos
It will
36
be
degree,
2x.
right?
It will be 2x cos 45 degree, not 36.
Mm. Sir, we have to find for a regular pentagon, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are telling the pentagon. Okay, yes, then you are correct.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Sabyasachi start.
Yeah, so we're coming on to the Euclid's division number. Like if A and B are any two positive integers, then they exist unique integers Q and R such that A equal to BQ plus O. 0 greater than or equal to R greater than less than B. So R lies in the range of 0 to the previous number less than B. Next slide. Like suppose you have to here prove it that every positive even integer is of the form of 2q and every positive odd integer is of the form 2q plus 1.
Will
Q is some integer.
does anyone know how to solve this?
Just let n is equal to like 2q.
Yes, continue.
Let n is equal to 2q, then according to Euclid's division lemma, the remainder will be either, no, the remainder will be only 1 or 0. Okay, so first
Yes,
we
you
will
are
write n is equal to 2q, then we will write n is equal to 2q plus 1.
Yes, you're correct. Sabyasachi continue.
So
Should I continue?
Yes.
Okay, so basically that's the proof of this. That every positive even integer is of the form of 2q and every positive odd integer is in the form of 2q plus 1. Like q is some integer. Like every odd integer is before some even integer. Like suppose this integer is k plus 1 is odd and this k is the previous integer. So k plus 1 can be written as twice of some k by 2, which is also some suppose some positive integer plus 1. So that's it. You can just prove the other one. Next slide. And you can also use the Euclid's division lemma to show.
Sabyasachi show using Euclid division lemma only because this is a proof of Euclid division lemma here.
Okay, so using the Euclid's division lemma, A equal to BQ plus R. So for this is Q. If the value of B is 2, then for every even integer, R is 0. So this becomes just A equal to 2Q. And for odd integer, it's some form of R is 1. If the value of R is greater than 1, which is 2, then we can just take 2 common again and again becomes R plus 1. And so this odd even pattern keeps alternating. Okay, next slide.
This question is quite
Okay.
similar. Try to solve this.
sorry.
I'm saying solve this question. This question is quite similar to that one.
Okay, okay.
Sir, can I tell?
Yes.
I can tell, sir. Sir, should I tell?
Okay, Kavish. Well, first you say.
Okay, so let n is equal to 3m. Okay, then the remainder should be either 1 or 2 or 0. Okay, so when the remainder is 0, then n is equal to 3m. So it means that now the n square is equal to 9 uh, m square, and which can, am I audible?
Do you need some more time? Hello. Sukrit, you may follow on.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, if means we can represent any positive integer as 3, means any integer as 3m, 3m plus 1 and 3m plus 2 forms. So, sir, if we square them, then, sir, in case of 3m, it will become 9m square. When it is 3m plus 1, it will become 9m square plus 6m plus 1. And when it is 3m plus 2 whole square, so sir, it will become 9m square plus 12n plus 4. So sir, if we now in first, if we take 3 and then multiply 3m square, then sir, we will get that there is no remainder. 3 into 3m square plus 0. So sir, here 3m is therefore the square of 3m will be divisible by 0. Now sir, if we take in the second case, then sir, for 9m square plus 6m, we can take 3 common and write 3m square plus 2m and then plus 1. So sir, here we are getting 3m square plus 2m is becoming the quotient and 1 is becoming the remainder. And so sir, in case of 3m plus 1 square, we are getting the remainder as 1. Now sir, in case of the second one, it is becoming 9m square plus 12n plus 4. So sir, now if we break 4 as 3 and 1, so sir, it will become 9m square plus 12m plus 3 plus 1. So sir, now in the first term, we can take 3 common and write 3m square plus 4m plus 1 and then plus 1. So sir, here also the quotient is becoming 3m square plus 4m plus 1 and the remainder is 1. So sir, as 3m plus 1 and 3m plus 2 are the forms of every integer. So sir, we can say that the square of every integer is either divisible by 3 or leaves a remainder of, means they are either in the form of 3m or in the form of 3m plus 1.
Yes, you are correct. Sabyasachi,
So
show the
sorry.
solution once
Sir,
again.
so sorry, sir. I got disconnected a bit.
Okay, no problem. Sabyasachi, continue.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes.
So basically, you have to just do this by the EDL again, Euclid's division lemma. Suppose like a number can be is divided by a, then when you divide the number by 3, you get the remainders as 0, 1, and 2, mod 3 for any number. So suppose you can write the number a equal to 3k, or a equal to 3k plus 1, or a equal to 3k plus 2. Now just square this. This will become, I think, 9k, which is 3 into 3k, which is, say, suppose, and
9k
something b.
square. It will become 9k square.
Yeah, this 3k square is b. So just as the form of 3b, that's 3m plus 1. If you take m, it becomes 3m. And if you square this, you'll get 9k square plus 9k plus 1. That's 6k plus 1. So you can again write this as 3k plus 1 form, 3m plus 1 form. 3k square plus 2k plus 1. This is MC. So again becomes 3m plus 1. And then this term 3k plus 2. That's 9k square plus 12k plus 4. So you can write it as 9k square plus 12k plus 3 plus 1. So just again becomes 3m plus 1 form. So this is the way you can do this. Okay, I'm leaving for now. Ayush can take over.
Okay. This is the next question. It's again quite similar. Please try this.
Sir, can I ask something?
Yes.
Sir, actually, I have another way. Can I tell it?
Yes, sir.
Sir, it is like if I take n is equal to 3m, then sir, n is equal to 0 mod 3. Now, sir, if we square it, then sir, n is equal to 0 square mod 3, which is equal to 0 mod 3.
Yes, yes, you can do it using mod
But
also. We will be teaching mod in the next
Yes,
class.
yes. We haven't taught more congruency yet, so we haven't done it that way. Yes, that's a better and a easier way. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Now try this question.
I solved it.
Yes, sir.
I solved it.
Yes, please continue with your solution. Yes, who solved it?
I, Kavish.
Yes,
I
please.
should I dictate?
Yes, yes. Please explain how did you solve?
I think there are two main remainders, so it is quite a bit. So, okay. So let me take any integer as n, and then n would be, and n is equal to in the form 9m. Now when we cube n cube, we will get 7 to 9 m cube. Then we take 9 common, we will get 81 m. So it becomes 9m. Then the second case would be n is equal to n plus nm, 9m plus 1. Now when we cube it, we will get it something like using the identity like 7 to 9 m cube plus 1 plus 3ab means 20,
Repeat again.
27m.
Audible myself.
Sorry.
Could you repeat again? Your voice is not audible. It's quite. It's unclear.
Is it audible now?
Yes, yes.
So should I repeat from the starting?
Yes, yes. Sorry.
Okay, so let any integer, positive integer be n. Now n be is equal to 9m. So when we cube n cube, will be is equal to 7 to 9 m cube. Now we take 9 common, then it should be 9 into 81 m cube. So 81 m cube can be done as m, so it is in the form of 9m. Okay, then The second case can be 9n is equal to 9m plus 1. So when we cube it, we will get like n cube plus n cube is equal to 7 to 9m cube plus 1 and plus 3ab or like 3ab into a plus b or 9m plus 1. So when we solve it, we will get 2 9m cube. Okay, when we solve it, we will get
Everyone knows this formula, right? If anyone
yes,
doesn't
yes.
know this,
Actually, I was just calculating this.
everyone knows this formula.
Yes, yes.
No, I'm asking everyone. Everyone knows this formula, right?
Yes, sir, we know.
Okay, I think everyone knows. Ayush, you can continue.
Supreet wants to share some solution.
Sir, actually what he was doing, sir, it was actually a bit time consuming. What I did was I again considered the integers as 3m, n is equal to 3m, the first case, then second case n is equal to 3m plus 1, and third case is n is equal to 3m plus 2.
Yes, that's
So, sir,
exactly what we are gonna do.
okay, sir. So, sir, shall I tell it or leave it like?
Yes, you can tell. Continue.
So, sir, if it is 3m, so, sir, n cube will become 27m cube, which is equal to 9 into 3m cube, which is in the form of 9 cube form. Now, sir, if I take 3m, n is equal to 3m plus 1, then, sir, n cube will become 27m cube plus 27m square plus 9m plus 1. Now, sir, in the first three terms, I can take 9 common and write 9 into 3m cube plus 3m square plus m plus 1. So, sir, it is in the form of 9 cube plus 1. Now, sir, in the second case, 3m plus 2 whole cube. So, sir, it will become 27m cube plus 54m square plus 36m plus 8. Now, sir, in the first three terms, I can take 9 common and write 3m cube, 9 into 3m cube plus 6m square plus 4m, bracket close, plus 8. So, sir, it is in the form of 9 cube plus 8.
Yes, you're correct.
Thank you.
But I have a doubt.
Yes.
Does it? Here only we took these three cases. So how can we say that 9m plus 7 or 9m plus 6 is not that? How can we say?
See, by Euclid division lemma, so it is A equal to BQ plus R. So we took B as 3. So like remainder can only be 0, 1 and 2. So we eliminated all the cases.
Okay.
We took these three cases.
You can take 9 also, 9k plus 1,
But 9 will be very,
but it would
that will be very much lengthy.
and you would have to calculate for 0 till 8. But here we have to we have to calculate only for 3 cases, so it's a bit easier and less time consuming.
So why did we not take 4k plus 4k plus 1, 4k plus?
Because that will not give a factor of 9.
Yes, that will not give a factor of 9. You won't be able to proceed further. You can take it, but you would not be able to proceed or prove.
What I did for time consuming.
Does anyone have any more doubts regarding the Euclid division lemma?
I have a doubt.
Yes.
What is the difference between a lemma and a theorem or axiom like that?
Difference between a
Lemma and
Your
theorem.
voice is feeble.
no lemma and theorem has a minor difference. A lemma uh, at first doesn't have any proof. It is like a statement, but theorem has a proof. Okay.
But in the definition, it writes that a lemma is a proven statement.
Like in lemma, the statement doesn't have any proof. It's just a statement, and you have to follow it. But in theorem,
Lemma's
there are
lemma were
proofs.
actually used to prove the theorems.
Okay.
Yeah, lemma itself doesn't have any proof.
So what is the difference between lemma and axiom?
Lemma and
Axiom.
could you write in the chat? I don't know why it's not. Your sound is coming very feeble.
I wrote it.
Excuse me, the meeting will be ending in 1 minute, so will we rejoin again?
Rejoin for the last time. I'm ending the meeting. Yes, so we are starting with the last and the final topic for today, divisibility of integer. So, till here, does anyone have doubt all the topics we covered?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm moving forward. So here, suppose we have an integer a which divides b. Suppose you have 4 and you have 2. So 2 divides 4, right? So we can represent it as a and this vertical line b. So it is actually read as a divides b. So we can write 2, then this vertical line and 4. So 2 divides 4. This can also be read as 4 is divisible by 2 or 2 is a divisor of 4. So it's actually basically a form of representation that a divides b. So now moving to the properties. So suppose A divides B, then A will divide BC for all C belonging to the integer. So suppose you have 2 and 2 divides 4. So you multiply any integer with 4, 2 will still 2 will still divide that expression because it's basically in multiplication, right? So suppose 2 divides 4, so 2 will still divide 4 into 3, 4 into 4, 4 into 9. So this is the first property.
It's actually like if 2 divides any multiple, any number, then it will also divide its multiples.
Yes, exactly. Now suppose k into A divides k into B. It means k divides kb. So basically, suppose you have 12 divides 36. So you can say 4 into 3 divides 4 into 9.
Wait, I'm showing this. See, we know that k divides kb, okay, right? So kb divided by ka is an integer. So if we cut this, so this will also be an integer. See,
Yes, exactly. Now moving on to the next property. Suppose A divides B and B divides C. So A will divide C. Taking an example, suppose 2 divides 4, right? Then 4 divides 8. So 2 divides 8. It's also called a translational property. Does anyone have any doubts in these three properties? These three are actually the most basic properties.
That means integer, right?
Yes, Z is a set of integers. Any doubts?
No.
this fourth property comes from this one only.
Yes. Now moving on to the next property. If A divides B and A also divides C, then it is A will divide MA plus NC where M and N are integer. So this comes actually from the first one. If you see, first one, what we discussed that if A divides B, then A will also divide the multiples of B. So if A divides B, then it will also, wait, that is MB plus NC. So if A divides B, then it will also divide MB because MB is just another multiple of B. And also if A divides C, then A will also divide NC. NC is just another multiple of C again. So A will divide MA and A will also divide NC. So it will also divide their sum. Any confusion with this?
Sir, in the fourth property, is it because like we can take A common from that expression? Like
Yes.
if it is represented in numbers?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, sir.
So now moving on to the next property. This is also called the identity property. So suppose A divides B and B also divides A. Then A will be equal to plus minus B. Does anyone know why does it happen?
Because it is the number itself only.
Exactly, or the negative of the number.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can I mathematically tell it?
Yes, continue.
Sir, if B divides means A divides B, then sir we can write B is equal to KA. And sir, if A divides B, then sir we can also write it as means B is equal to KA, KB is equal to A. So sir, it will be like then if we put the value of B in that second equation, then we will get K square A is equal to A. Then sir, if we cancel A and A, then K square is equal to 1, then K is equal to plus minus 1. So B is equal to automatically plus minus A, or A is equal to plus minus B.
You're correct. Now,
Okay,
moving
sir.
to the
Thank
last
you.
and final property, it's basically derived from the fourth property only. If A divides B, then A will divide B plus C. Sorry. If A divides B and A also divide B plus C, or A divides B and A also divide B minus C, then A will divide C. You can actually see it just exactly derived from the fourth property. Because if A divides B and A also divides their sum, and B is already divisible by A, so C has to be divisible by A to take A out common. Any doubts till now?
No.
So this is the first question. Please try to solve. Did anyone solve till now, or any significant progress?
Sir, I could find the form of the number, but I'm not getting that. If it is what numbers can be divisible, like n+1 whole square by n+7 is an integer.
I'm giving you a hint. Try to derive the n+1 whole square expression in terms of n+7 or something like that, so that you can
Okay,
factor.
Anyone solved?
We'll be giving 1 more minute.
N is equal to n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 5 and n is equal to 11 and n is equal to 20
29.
29. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
Yes,
that.
yes,
Yes,
yes, correct.
Could you explain your process?
Yes, sir. Sir, just I divided n square plus 2n plus 1 by n plus 7. So I mean I got the remainder 36. So now I wrote that n square plus 2n plus 1 is equal to n minus 5 plus 36 by n plus 7.
Yes,
So
yes, exactly.
36 by n
Yes,
plus 7
yes.
has to be an
After that, you
integer.
just have to use the divisibility property. Yes, correct.
So basically in this, we have n square plus 2n plus 1 whole divided by n minus 7. So you
N
can,
plus 7.
yes, sorry, n plus 7. So you have n square plus 2n plus 1 whole divided by n plus 7. Now you can factor it like this, n plus 7 whole multiplied by n minus 5. So this will give you n square minus 2n minus 35. But here you have plus 1. So to make it plus 1, you have to add another 36 whole divided by n plus 7.
Now the first term will be divided by n plus 7, so
Yes,
36 will also have to be.
basically we did this so that we can factor it out. So you can see the first term n plus 7 into n minus 5 is divisible by n plus 7. So you can factor it out. And the remaining expression is constant. So it will give you n minus 5 plus 36 by n minus 7. So now we have that
N plus 7, I think.
yes, sorry, n plus 7. So now you have n minus 5 plus 36 by n plus 7. So this we know this is an integer. So n plus 7 must divide 36 and is a natural number. So we will just take out the factors of 36 greater than 7. So it will be 9, 12, 18 and 36. These are the 4 factors: 9, 12, 18 and 36.
So it should be 36 only.
Yes.
These factors should be excluded.
Therefore, we have to take the factors greater than 7 because n is a natural number, right? So greater than 7, there are only 4 factors of 36. 9, 12, 18 and 36. So for 9, n equal to 2. For 12, n equal to 5. For 18, n equal to 11.
N equal to 11 and for 36, n equal to 29.
29. So these are the 4 natural numbers n for which this is an integer. Any doubts in this?
Sir, could you please repeat the last step?
Yes, repeating. So when we express this n plus 7 into n minus 5 plus 36 whole divided by n plus 7. So when we divide it, we'll get n minus 5 plus 36 by n minus 7. Now we have been given this expression is an integer. So n minus 5 is an integer. We know this. Now 36 by n minus 7 is also an integer.
Yes, sir.
Got this? So now n minus 7. So we have, since n is this will actually be positive integer. So now for this, we'll take for factors for, we have to take the factors.
No, we have already included natural numbers, so we don't have to write
Yes,
integer.
exactly, yes. So we'll take factors greater than 7 because n plus 7. Yes, n plus 7. So n is a natural number, so it has the n plus 7 has to be greater than 7. So there are only 4 factors of 36 greater than n plus 7, greater than 7. So that are 9, 12, 18 and 36. So n plus 7 equal to 9 will give you n equal to 2. Now n plus 7 equal to 12 will give n equal to 5. Similarly, 11 and 29.
Okay, sir, I got it.
Any doubts, anyone? So
I think we can go to the next
yes,
question.
yes. Just let me clear annotate. Now next question.
This is a similar type of question.
Yes. Try to again derive the numerator in the forms of the denominator so you can divide.
Everyone knows this identity.
Yes,
I
sir.
am using that only. Yes, I am using that only.
Okay. Yes. From here you can use that a plus b divides a cube plus b cube.
Yes.
But the question is not in the form of a cube plus b cube.
Could you repeat?
The question is not in the form of a cube plus b cube. There is n cube plus 100.
We have to make it.
We have to add both side.
Sir, we have to find n largest natural number, right?
Yes, so it is given n cube plus 100. So take it as n cube plus 1000 minus 900.
Sir, yes, sir, I found it.
Yes, sir.
Sir, do I have to tell the process?
Sir, is it 890?
What is the answer?
Sir, I got
90.
440.
No, the answer.
Not 440. Others? 440 is wrong. Others?
890.
89?
890. 890.
Yes, correct.
Yes, correct. Did anyone else solve?
Sir, I by mistakenly considered the 4 for 450.
Okay, no
I
problem.
forgot to take 900.
Did anyone else solve? So I'm moving with this, proceeding with the solution. So the numerator here we have is n cube. We have n cube plus 100. So to make it in the form of a cube plus b cube, we'll make it n cube plus 1000. So 1000 is actually 10 cube. So n cube plus 10 cube. But here we have 100. Since we have 100 in the numerator, we'll subtract it by 900. So we have n cube plus 10 cube minus 900 in the numerator. Now you can factor, we made it NQ plus 10Q since we know that A plus B divided by A plus B divides AQ plus BQ. We know this, N plus 10. So N plus 10 will divide NQ plus 10Q. So when you will divide, you will get an integer K. Since N plus 10 divides NQ plus 10Q, it will actually be N square minus 10N plus 100.
See, we have to find the largest value. So just take it n plus 10 equal to 900.
Yes, so now we have for the remaining part, we have minus 900 by N plus 10. So we have to take the
But
large.
minus sign doesn't have any meaning. You can,
Yes,
because
we have to
minus
take the
900
largest
also,
value of N.
900 is also.
Say you, to maximize it, you will simply take N plus 10 is equal to 900. So N, it will make N as 890. Any doubts in this question?
No, sir. No doubts?
Sakarya, can you take over for the last question?
Okay, sure. Move the slide. Solve this. This is a good question.
Sir, I think I proved.
We do it like AB divides A
Sir,
square
I
and
have.
AB divides B square. So B divides A and A divides B. So A is
No,
equal
you
to
can't tell.
B.
No, you can't tell this. Because A and B are not prime numbers. This is applicable only for prime numbers. Try to proceed like this.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, this
Done
question
like A divides C and
I
B divides
used AMGM once.
How did you use AMGM? Elaborate, please.
Sir, actually, I don't know. It is like an assumption. Sir, actually, what it was given that a square plus means a square plus b square. AB divides a square and a square plus b square. So, sir, I considered a square plus b square divided by AB as k. So, sir, where k is an integer. So, sir, now a square plus b square will become k ab. Now, sir, if I add 2ab in both sides, so sir, a plus b whole square will become k plus 2 into ab. Now, sir, a plus b is equal to root under k plus 2 into root under ab. So, sir, a plus b by root k plus 2 is equal to root under ab. So, sir, if I now like match it with the AMGM inequality, so, sir,
No, sorry, 1 second. You can't match it with the AMGM inequality because in AMGM, when you use the inequality, you consider A equal to B. That is the thing. So you are considering A equal to B and proving it. That is not correct.
No, that's only for the equality.
Yeah, but if he uses equality, then he has to consider equal to B. If he uses inequality, there is no
Yes,
meaning to use it.
sir, actually, a plus b by root k plus 2 is equal to root ab. So, sir, when in the AMGM inequality, when a is equal to b, then, sir, a plus b by 2 is equal to root under ab. So, sir, here we can, like, at that time I did like a is equal to b, and, sir, root k plus 2 is equal to 2, sir, k is equal to 2. So, sir, a square plus b square by ab is becoming an integer, which is 2. So, sir, it is divisible.
Okay, what is your name?
Yes, sir.
Shukrit.
Can you send your solution once in the Discord server? We are not understanding what you actually are telling. So it would be better if you send your solution there.
Okay,
Then we
sir.
will let you know. It is correct.
Sir, just a
Others,
minute.
please try to do.
Sir, I did by that. Sir, AB divides A square and AB divides B square. So I wrote A square is equal to AB into K and B
How
square
do
is equal
you
to
think that it
AB.
divides them individually? AB divides A square and AB divides B square. How can you take that? Hello. In this problem, actually cannot take AB divides A square and AB divides B square because AB can be greater than A square and AB can be greater than B square individually. So can I continue?
Yeah, you guys try for 1 minute. Then I'm telling this.
Sir, I have to send the photo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, send
Okay.
in doubt channel.
Okay, sir.
So I think you should start now because less than 4 minutes are left.
Okay, so as I said that we first taking the integer, take the HCF as K. So I'm writing A is equal to AK, B is equal to PK, and K is the HCF of these numbers. Now then A capital and capital will be co-primes. I hope no one has any problem. This much clear? Then after this, A square plus B square by AB. This has to be an integer. So now substituting, we can write this. Correct? This much is okay. Then now we can also write this. Okay, no need to write this. We can write this. So now taking A divides A square, correct? Now A also has to divide B square, correct? Also B divides B square, so B also has to divide A square. As these two are co-primes, we can write that A divides B and B divides A. Now we learned a formula that if this happens, we can write A equal to plus minus B.
Since natural numbers, you will
But-
take only the positive value.
But as there are natural numbers, so we can't take minus sign.
Couldn't
so we
apply
have to
this
take-
directly in the first AB divides A square plus B square, because here we don't know that if A square plus B
Yes, here we don't know that A square and B square are co-prime or not. That's why I took that HCF first. Understood?
Where I've sent the answer.
Okay, any doubts in this question? So we'll be concluding this session, and this is your homework. Yeah, this is your homework. You have to read the chapter 1 of Class 10 Mathematics NCERT. In case you don't have, you can go to ncert.nic.in. There you can get the PDF. So read the chapter 1 and solve all the exercises. Also solve the exercises on the slide 19 of this PPT. This one.
Are you going to share the PPT?
Yes, I will share. You have to solve these 3 questions as well. So thank you, everyone.